And I called those programs traditional defender programs. And they were characterized by being highly political, that there was a strong political influence in the hiring and firing and funding of the programs, that they pretty much fell into the type of public defender program that most people think about, in which public defenders are young kids coming right out of college, and right out of law school, and they work for the public defender in pretty shabby conditions, underpaid, especially vis-a-vis the prosecutor. Prosecutors have much better pay generally. They have investigators, they have forensic scientists, they have expert witnesses they can bring in, and we operate an adversarial system in this country. And the idea is that by having this battle between the prosecution and the defense, that somehow truth and justice will emerge from this battle. And that assumes what? That it's a level playing field. Well, in the traditional defender programs, it's a pretty much tilted program, because you've got public defenders down here with ridiculous caseloads, underpaid, no facilities, no support staff, and they're going against the prosecutors who have all the power in the world. And the greatest power that prosecutors have is their ability to pick their cases. They're the ones who decide whether a case is strong enough to go ahead and prosecute, strong enough to go for an indictment. And if their case isn't strong, they just drop it. And you travel around the country, and pretty much uniformly of cases coming into the system, 30% of them, sometime during the process from arrest to sentencing, 30% of the cases are going to be just discarded by the prosecutor because they don't think they can win them. The cases they think they can win, they keep, and that's the cases that the public defender has to go against. The public defender, he would like to dump some of these cases too for his defendant, because a lot of times they just are facing overwhelming evidence. And so most of their cases are sure losers. Anyway, so the traditional system is really difficult for the public defender, and they have enormous caseloads. And I think the worst feature is that they get all of these young kids out of law school, working for them, no experience, and the kids are in the program a couple years, and after losing 95% of their cases, it gets pretty dispiriting. And so what do? Actually, a lot of them start out knowing they're not going to stay very long in the public defenders. They just want to go in there and get litigation experience, get experience trying a case, so that when they really are going for the job that they want in some lucrative corporate law practice, they can say, I'm a specialist in litigation. I've had 3 years experience with the local public defender. And prosecutors do the same thing too, and they lose a lot. In a place like Chicago or New York City, they, if you look at the structure, they will lose 80% of their attorneys within 3 to 4 years. It's a way station in their professional career. And when I mention that these traditional public defense systems are very political, most of you can think back. In New York City, in the last 20 years, there's been 2 strikes by the public defender offices in which the mayor One instance it was Koch, next time it was Mayor Giuliani, were so infuriated and angry at the public defenders that they took away about a third of their cases and sent them out to what are called contract law firms that contract with the city to handle indigent cases. They're like an alternative to the public defender. So the public defenders meekly crawled back to work in both instances, losing about a third of their personnel and about a third of their caseload. In Chicago, it's so political that the hiring and firing decisions of the public defender's office is handled by the judges. The judges that they have to practice in front of decide their fate. How aggressive, how good can you be as a public defender, defense attorney, in a courtroom where the guy in front of you with the robe on is going to determine whether or not you get a decent salary next year, or whether or not you even have a job, or whether you're going to get a promotion or a demotion. So that's the traditional approach. And it's probably why most public defenders don't have a very good reputation professionally, anywhere. So Chicago and New York sort of personify that approach. And when we're talking about caseloads, these public defenders having, even with losing cases, in New York City, the average public defender has each year close to 400 cases that he must, yeah. And actually, at almost any point in time, he'll have several hundred cases that are active that he's working on. It's crazy. Okay, now we go to the other end of the continuum, the reform programs. And the two programs that I'm familiar with, and I sort of use as my basis in constructing this paradigm, happened to be in Washington, D.C., and the other one turned out to be, to my surprise, in Essex County, New Jersey, and in New Jersey Public Defender Program. And that program, amazingly, is, after hearing about the Sopranos state recently in your series, this is like the anti-Soprano state in terms of legal defense in Jersey. There is really no public or no political shenanigans going on in the office, outside the office. It really has been placed above the political fray.